and welcome everybody to another edition of the GSMC Sports Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. As always, I'm your host, Kenneth Gruenfelder, and it's great to have you guys here on this first day of April Fool's Day. I hope everybody's doing well. We got a great show for you guys today. But before I get into what we are going to talk about today, I just want to remind you guys, as always, to tip or donate, get your comments recognized. Make sure to hit that super chat button in the chat if you want to see me acknowledge any thought or comment you may have throughout the live broadcast. It makes the show more lively, more entertaining between myself, the host, and you guys, the viewers. We appreciate you guys' viewership each and every day, so any contribution you can make to the show means the world to us as we put out content for you guys each and every day. And also, the other way to help out the show is by going to the link at the bottom of the show segment on the ticker, GSMCPodcast.net. That is GSMCPodcast.net. So let's get into what we will discuss today. So we will start off the show. We'll talk about the NFL owners meeting, some highlights from that, some key headlines with that. And my sister did not close the door all the way, so now my dog is in the background. Nice. So we'll get into that. We will talk about, in the second part of the show, we will get into talking about the torpedo bats. I know I talked about that a little bit on Tuesday or yesterday with the Yankees and the controversy around that, but I wanted to just talk more about it. We'll get into that. Then in the third part of the show, we'll talk about some injury updates surrounding some NBA players, Zion Williamson, Kevin Durant, and Jalen Brunson. Fourth part of the show, we'll get into talking about Juan Soto and his debut with the Mets, and just the craziness around it, because Yankee fans had a lot to say about it, and there were some overreactions to it. The Mets did win big last night against the Marlins. I know you could probably say, well, that's the Marlins, but still, that was a good win for them, scoring 10 runs last night. So we'll get into all that, and then in the final part of the show, we will get into doing a season overview on the Indianapolis Colts. So let's get into the first topic, which is talking about the owners' meetings and, some of the key headlines surrounding that. So, and we have a live studio audience here with my dog now in attendance for this. So hopefully she doesn't start barking because it's going to scare the living daylights out of me. Let's talk about the owners' meeting. So, some key takeaways from it. Now, one of the key takeaways is Mike Tomlin did speak on Aaron Rodgers. That's one of the. Now, obviously, I have the tush push here, but Aaron Rodgers was a topic of conversation at the owners' meeting. So, Mike Tomlin spoke on it. He talked about how Rodgers and the Steelers had a productive day when Rodgers came to the facility. And, they said they don't necessarily have a deadline for him to make a decision. But there was a video that did surface, and it was of Aaron Rodgers running concepts, throwing some passes to DK Metcalf, running some offensive plays, concepts, like I said. So, when you see that, could he be toying with us, making us believe he's definitely going to sign with the Steelers and then say he's going to retire? It's possible. But that does show you that if he's working with DK Metcalf, you would imagine that he's going to sign with the Steelers. You would think. So that was something interesting. We'll have to wait and see on that. But that, it's kind of a big deal if you're seeing that. That means that a deal is going to happen at some point. So some of the other things, we did mention the tush push, and we've talked about it on previous shows before. So there is some traction on banning it. Now, we did bring it up briefly yesterday because I, came across a social media post that, it was gaining traction on being banned, and I said that it shouldn't be banned. I've been an advocate for that because, look, is it annoying? Yeah, but It's part of the game. And these defenses have the opportunity to stop it, and they can't. So that's how I feel about it. So there's that. Also, talk about a potential 18-game season. That's going to happen at some point. It's not going to happen next year, but definitely in the near future. So week 1 would be on Labor Day weekend. There would be a second bye week, and this would cause the Super Bowl to be moved to President's Day. So everybody will have off the next day, or most people will have off the next day. And the preseason will be reduced to 2 games. And we know Roger Goodell has spoke about the preseason, and he's not a big fan of it. So at some point, you would imagine that the preseason is going to be gone completely, and it's just going to be all regular season games, which a lot of people will like. I think there'll be some people that'll dislike it because it at least gives players the opportunity to have a dress rehearsal, before they take the field, because then you're just going to end up with a lot of sloppy football. So, we'll have to see what happens there. Also, Thursday Night Football flex scheduling. So that's been approved. They can flex Sunday games into Thursday with a 21-day notice. Now, this is from weeks 13 to 17. Now, we did see that, last year. Because, you had the Chargers and the Broncos. They got flexed into Thursday, and that ended up being a good game. No team will be required to flex more than once. The max number of Thursday night games per team remains at 2. Now, there's also a uniform policy. Teams can now wear alternate or throwback uniforms 4 times per season, previously 3. I didn't really know that there was a restriction on that. The Eagles are wearing their throwbacks in the picture I have here for the segment. Honestly, there's a lot of throwbacks that I like. I like the Broncos throwbacks, the Seahawks throwbacks. The Eagles ones here are good. The Giants, I wish the Giants would make their not the ones they wore in week 1. I want to make that clear. The ones they wore against the Commanders at home later in the season, those I think should be their permanent uniforms. I'm trying to think of who else. Yeah, the Steelers, they should bring back the Bumblebee uniforms. Why not? Even though a lot of people say they're ugly, which they are, but still, I think they should bring them back at some point. But yeah, so there's that. Rule changes, so there might be a slight change with the kickoff. Kickoff touchbacks move to the 35-yard line, currently the 30-yard line, to encourage more returns. At some point, you're going to see. All right, my dog just left, so give me just 2 seconds. All right, so that was the breaking news. My dog just left my room. So, yeah, I just wanted to make sure she hasn't come back in. So, yeah, we actually had, like I said, we had a live studio audience for the first time since I started doing these shows. How about that? But, yeah, so just go back to the regular kickoff. I mean, I don't know what it is what it is. But I think they should just go back to the traditional kickoff. And, if it's a touchback, go to the 20-yard line, and you start from there, But that's just me. Wild card seeding proposal, we did talk about that. Wild card teams could be seeded higher than division winners if they have a better record. We talked about that. Mike Tomlin opposes this, and I 100% agree with him. This was a unique season. 2024 was unique. You had 2 teams that won 14-plus games in the same division. That's not going to happen every single year, so we don't need to change that. And then we talked about the overtime rule change. It'll be applied like it is in the postseason to the regular season, and it would go back to 15 minutes instead of 10. I also think I would throw in there should not be a tie. Completely eliminate ties from the NFL. If it has to go to another quarter, so be it. There should not be ties in the NFL. And I don't think there were any last year. I don't think there were. But still, extend it if both teams do not score in the first quarter of overtime. They have to go to a second quarter. Now, with Kirk Cousins, there was some rumors with him. Could go to the Browns. We've talked about this. We did talk about the Steelers being an option too yesterday. But Browns could be a possibility. Jimmy Haslam, the owner of the Browns, even came out and said that the Deshaun Watson trade was a big swing and a miss, and I think that's putting it lightly. You could say a lot worse than that, but yeah. So we'll see. Kirk Cousins is going to end up on another team, and all three teams at the top of the draft are considering taking a quarterback. Kind of know this already. Cam Ward could be heading to Tennessee. Browns, I mean, if they end up with Kirk Cousins, they probably don't take a quarterback. And maybe, they draft Abdul Carter, they draft Travis Hunter. I feel like Abdul Carter would be a stronger possibility, pairing with Myles Garrett. I also kind of want the Giants to just get Travis Hunter. So we'll see. But that's basically what went down there at the league meetings. So let me know what you guys think, though, in the comments. So we are going to take our first break of the show now, and my camera turned off. So we'll fix that. When we come back, we will talk about the torpedo bats. We will get into that conversation. We will talk about it. And, all right, that did not work. We'll talk about the controversy surrounding the torpedo bats. If, they should be banned. I mean, I didn't say they should be banned, but there's a lot of people out there that feel like they should. Just because, the Yankees were using them. So we will get into all of that. We'll discuss it. And like I said, I will give you, I'll give you my 2 cents on the topic. And I was trying to, like I said, I'm trying to fix the camera before we go to break. If not, okay, we're good. All right, so that's what we'll get into when we come back from our next break. So with that being said, stick around. And we'll be right back here on the GSMC Sports Podcast.